There is a certain power in walking through fire without screaming. Not because the fire doesn't burn, but because you have found something within you that burns brighter. You see, in this world, everyone is eager to speak, but very few are willing to listen deeply. Even fewer can understand. So when you keep running around telling people your problems, you are not sharing your soul, you are scattering your energy. Words may win you sympathy, but they rarely bring you transformation. When you carry your storm in silence, something magnificent begins to happen. You begin to hear not the noise of the world, but the whisper of your own spirit. Pain, when held with awareness, becomes a teacher. Struggles, when embraced without complaint, become sacred. Every quiet battle you fight alone is not a punishment, it is a process of purification. People can hold your hand, yes, but they cannot walk into the fire for you. This is your walk. This is your becoming. And remember this: what you constantly talk about, you keep alive, but what you observe in stillness, you transcend. So don't cry out for the world to fix your chaos. Instead, sit with it. Breathe into it. Let it sculpt you. Let your silence roar louder than 1,000 complaints. Because the one who conquers in silence becomes unstoppable in spirit. When you choose silence in the midst of chaos, you are not suppressing your pain, you are refining your power. Silence is not weakness. It is not the absence of words, it is the presence of depth. When everything inside you wants to scream, complain, explain, or seek validation, and yet you choose to be still, that is not suppression. That is mastery. In silence, you sharpen the blade of your awareness. You stop scattering your energy through speech and instead you begin to gather it. Like a sword forged in fire and cooled in stillness, your inner being begins to take a sharper form. Every emotion, every thought, every storm that rages inside, when held in conscious silence, becomes fuel for clarity. People often mistake silence for suffering, but silence is not suffering, it is sacred space. It is the space where life speaks to you without words. It is in that quietness that you begin to see yourself, not as the wounded one, but as the warrior who is simply training in the dark. You do not always need to voice your battles. Some swords are not drawn in front of crowds, they are polished in solitude. Silence, when chosen consciously, is not retreat, it is preparation. It is where real strength is born, not in noise, but in the silent sharpening of the soul. Your struggle is not a mistake, it is a calling. Life, in its mysterious intelligence, places fire on your path not to destroy you, but to reveal you. And when you face that fire alone, without broadcasting your pain to the world, something ancient within you begins to awaken. Pain is not just a burden, it is a mirror. It shows you where you are still bound, still afraid, still unsure of your own strength. And if you can resist the urge to escape it by talking endlessly about it, if you can sit with it, breathe through it, walk through it, you emerge changed. Not just healed, but reborn. In the loneliness of your inner battle, your ego begins to dissolve. You no longer care about how others see you, you care about what you're becoming. The approval, the pity, the advice of the world lose their grip. You stop performing. You start transforming. Most people want company in their misery, not freedom from it. But if you dare to face your suffering without an audience, you begin to hear the language of your own soul. And it does not speak in complaints, it speaks in courage, in clarity, in calm. No one truly knows the depth of your journey, and they ought need to. Because your growth is not for their entertainment, it is for your elevation. When you endure with awareness, when you fall without noise and rise without applause, you are no longer a victim of life, you are its student. And every silent battle you fight carves a deeper truth into your being. You were never meant to be saved by others. You were meant to awaken yourself. Most people seek to speak their pain because they believe being heard will heal them. But healing does not come from being heard, it comes from hearing yourself fully. And you can only hear yourself when the noise of the world is put aside, when the voices of others fade, and when your own voice is no longer begging for attention but turning inward for truth. There is something sacred about walking through your darkness without asking for someone to light the path. Because in that darkness, your own eyes adjust. You begin to see things not as they appear but as they are. Struggles that once seemed like curses reveal themselves as your training ground. Obstacles become invitations not to speak louder but to listen deeper. When you choose to fight quietly, your victories echo in places words cannot reach. You're no longer wasting energy explaining your pain to those who cannot carry it. Instead, that energy is redirected into stillness, into growth, into unshakable resolve. You become like a mountain rooted, unmoved not because the storm didn't come, but because you allowed it to pass through you without needing an audience. Every time you withhold your pain from casual conversation, you protect its sacredness. Every time you resist the urge to complain, you choose creation over reaction. The quiet battle is not just about endurance, it is about evolution. Silence, in the face of suffering, is not denial, it is devotion. It is the soul's way of saying, I trust the process more than I trust the pity of the world. And in that trust, a deeper intelligence begins to move through you, not taught, not borrowed, but born directly from your own being. This is how you become unshakable, not by speaking of your strength, but by becoming it in the solitude of your silent fire. There is a subtle magic in not announcing your wounds. In a world addicted to noise, silence becomes your rebellion. Not the silence of weakness, but the silence that watches, waits, and understands. When you choose not to share your suffering with everyone, you are not hiding, it is an act of inner conservation. You are containing your energy, not letting it leak into spaces that cannot hold it. Every time you speak of your struggle to someone who does not understand its weight, you dilute its sacred purpose. Pain is not a story to be thrown into casual conversations. It is a sacred fire meant to be held close, respected, and learned from. When you keep it within, it starts to reshape you from the inside, not with noise, but with knowing. Most people want to be heard so they feel real, feel seen. But when you become deeply present with your own inner storm, you don't need an audience. The witness inside you awakens, and that is far more powerful than any external validation. You begin to realize your silence is not empty. It is full of lessons, full of insight, full of raw and honest power. You are not being strong for the world. You are simply becoming real for yourself. In that stillness, your emotions soften, your mind clears, your decisions deepen. You stop reacting to life and start responding with intelligence. And suddenly, even though the outer world remains unchanged, you are no longer the same. This is the sword of silence. It does not cut others, it cuts through your illusions. It severs the tie between your suffering and the need for attention. And what remains is a quieter, deeper, stronger you. No one needs to know what you're going through, because one day they will see who you've become, and that will say everything. So now understand, this deeply silence is not the absence of expression, it is the presence of depth. In a world addicted to noise, your ability to walk through pain without announcing it is not a sign of weakness, it is a reflection of inner strength. It means you have begun to trust something far greater than the sympathy of others. You have begun to trust your own becoming. Let others speak their chaos if they must. You walk quietly. Let your transformation unfold in the stillness. Let your scars become symbols, not of suffering, but of sacred growth. The battles you fight in silence, they shape you into something that noise can never create. And when the time comes, you won't need to tell the world what you've been through. Your presence will speak for itself. Your calm will be louder than any cry. Your strength will whisper truths no scream could ever carry. Win quietly, rise silently, emerge powerfully. Because some of the most extraordinary souls are not heard in the crowd, they are forged in the quiet. Let the world wonder. You already know.